Então, para falar da revolução da gestão da inovação, eu queria convidar, diretamente de Israel, o Rami Goldstrat. Welcome, Rami.
Bom dia. Well, that's where my Portuguese ends, so I hope you practice your English. So, hello everybody. Thank you for coming to hear me out. My name is Rami Goldrat. I'm the CEO of Goldrat Group. Our company, my father, created this body of knowledge called the theory of constraints. Maybe some of you have read the book The Goal. It's quite famous. And what we do, we have several hundred consultants around the world. We are trying to help companies deal with the major constraints they have for growth. And when it comes to innovation, we're trying to basically make innovation much more practical for the business. Because of course, to have breakthroughs, you need to dream big, you need to have your head in the sky, you need to aspire, inspiration. It's all great, but you also need to have your foot on the ground. Because if you only dream, it's not going to be practical. And to be practical, you have to take into account the constraints of your business. And you have to take into account and consider the constraints of your customers. Because if you ignore these constraints, they will not ignore you. And you can come up with great ideas, but they will remain on the paper. They will not be implemented really. So what I came here today is to share with you some tips, some mindsets that we are trying to make sure that our customers have as they develop their innovation. And I really recommend that you take notes of these, and when you develop your innovations, your breakthrough ideas, you take these into account. You see, when we are on the journey of developing an innovation, there are three phases. The first phase is to build the capabilities to deliver exceptional value. Because obviously, if you don't deliver exceptional value, your innovation will not mean anything. So that's the first phase. How do we develop the technology or the product or the way we deliver it to the market? Build. But that's not where the innovation ends. The next phase will be to capitalize on these capabilities and build a profitable business on these capabilities, or a big business around it. Because if we just come up with an idea that gives value, but we don't develop a business around it, or develop the capabilities to capitalize on it, then the idea will remain on paper, right? The third step is not less important, and we call it sustain. Because once you're able to build your new product that gives a lot of value and you're able to capitalize on it and build a business around it, you need to think how you're going to continue and scale this business, because the idea is not to remain small. You want to make an impact on the world. How do you sustain these capabilities as you are growing? There are a lot of constraints that deal with it. So what we are doing is we understand what are the key constraints that stands in our way to build, to capitalize, to sustain the business, and focus on taking the right actions to deal with these constraints, not to ignore them, and then face them in reality and give up. What I wanted to share with you today are several what we call mindset blocks, mindset obstacles that bring us to actually ignore these constraints. And the takeaway from this presentation, I hope for you, will be to remember these mindset blocks and make sure that you don't fall into these traps and then ignore the constraints. The first mindset block is about the build phase. And it is the idea that the more, the better. Let's keep adding. We know that innovation is risky. We know that the chances of success are small, so let's develop many products. Let's have many ideas. For each product, let's have many features, many use cases, many customers that we are trying to serve, many different type of business models. We keep adding and adding and adding, hoping that one of the bullets will hit, hoping that one of the initiatives will work. In theory, this mindset can work. Why to put all the eggs in one basket and then fail? But in reality, when you keep adding more and more products, more and more features, more and more market segments you're trying to capture, it will start working against you. You will spread your resources too thin. At best, each one of these ideas will give you incremental value, not a breakthrough, because you didn't focus all the resources and the energy on making a big wow. And something you need to remember, and it's always the case in innovation, when you have many, many, many small initiatives, many small features, many small products, each one of them give incremental value, it will not add up to a big wow. If the next iPhone will be 5% lighter, 5% faster, 5% longer battery life, it does not add up to a big wow, right? To make an innovation, a wow, we have to focus and make a big, and provide exceptional value, a big difference, not incremental. And this means that, as my father said, focus starts not with what to do. It starts with what not to do. We need to be able to have the clarity in our mind, what not to do, how not to just keep adding, how to converge, how to select the few ideas that we should move forward. Steve Jobs said, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. Basically, if you listen carefully, he's telling us what is the major obstacle to select the few ideas. It's not that we will not know what will work and what not. If we give enough thought, we will know which idea can work and which idea will not work. The problem is to say no. Many times we keep adding because we don't want to disappoint people, because we want collaboration of more people, of more customers, of more managers. To really have the ability to develop a breakthrough innovation, you must develop your capability to say, not to say yes, to say no. No, we are not going to do this now. We want to focus here. And it's not easy. When you say no, you piss off people. But that's a must. So this was the first mindset block that I wanted to share, about a mindset block that prevents us to build exceptional value. Keep adding. Let's view the next mindset block. It is still on the build phase. The second mindset block is how to leverage a shiny new technology. You know, many times what sparks our idea to develop an innovation is that we see a new technology, AI, and say, oh, that's amazing. Maybe we can do this and this with it. Maybe we can develop this and these capabilities with it. That's how our mind works, right? We see these technologies and it gives us ideas. And that's really good. I'm not against it. But there is a big trap, a very big trap, when your idea starts from a technology and then you think what to do with it. A trap that if you don't notice it, you will fail. What is the trap? When the arrow moves from new technology to thinking how we can apply it in a business case and a use case, many times you will force this new technology on reality. It really not going to work. And even if it works, you know, I'll give you an example. Many times we work like with digitization innovations, like with banks, etc., or with plants, manufacturing companies. They say, we have this new technology. We will automate the lines. We will be able to produce much faster, much more efficient. And they are right. It can work. But what if they don't notice that in their case, They struggle to sell. They don't have demand for their products. So now they can produce much faster, much more efficient, but they cannot sell. And if they don't notice it, what will happen is they will produce very fast and just build a lot of inventories that they don't sell. And we saw it in reality many times. This can bring companies to their knees. You don't just apply technology for the sake of technology. You need to start with what is your business constraint, or what is our customer's business constraints, and then think how we can use technology to solve it. Another challenge that happens when you move from technology and then look for use cases and business cases is that even when it fits, many times you will not make all the business process changes that are needed to ensure that the technology will deliver value. For example, when we work with banks and do digitization processes, so one of the banks we work with said, okay, we want to service customers better. They don't want to waste time coming to the branch, coming to the bank. Let's develop a way for customers to interact with the bankers through text messages on WhatsApp, on SMS. You know, that will be much faster. Again, perfect technology and perfect idea, and it can deliver a lot of value. But then if you don't educate the bankers, when do you need to respond to the text message? How are you going to respond to it? What happened in reality is that the time it took the bankers to respond to the text messages was so long, customers were disappointed. And when they responded, many times the response was, come to the bank. You need to make sure that you align the business case, the business processes and operational processes to be able to leverage the new technology. What I'm trying to say, if you really want to be practical with innovation, reverse the arrow. Start by identifying a business case, a use case that you know will deliver a lot of value, and then think how technology can help you, not the other way around. Make sense? If you remember this, you will save yourself from a lot of mistakes. The next mindset obstacle that I want to share, still in the build phase, is that many times we think innovation is all about being disruptive, revolutionize the industry. So we kind of think that the objective of innovation is to make something new. That's the objective. What is the problem with this? The problem is that if you think that the objective of innovation is to make something new, you can come up with great ideas on paper that can really make a big difference. But because they are going to make a big difference, they require so many drastic changes from your business or from your customers that it will simply not going to be applied. It will remain on the paper. The objective is not to make something new. The objective of innovation is to remove a significant limitation in a way that was not possible before. It doesn't matter how new it is, how revolutionized it is. What really matters is, are we removing a significant limitation for the customers in a way that was not possible before? This really determines the scope of success of the innovation. Make sense? You know, when you remove a significant limitation, you provide new capabilities to customers. This is what makes the difference between improvement and innovation. Improvement is about getting more of what we already have, which is not bad. That's why it's an improvement, up to a point when we don't really care anymore. Innovation, by removing a limitation, you are providing capabilities you did not have before. When Google was created, suddenly we have much faster access to information. We didn't have this capability before. Hopefully the right information. When how IKEA became the #1 furniture retailer in the world, through their ability to have the customers assemble the furnitures, they were able to provide immediate accessibility to a wide range of furnitures for affordable prices, capabilities we did not have before. This is what makes the difference. Let's think about emojis, okay? The first time somebody thought about emojis, wow, we can communicate emotions, feelings through text symbols. That's a new capability. Maybe last time we had it was in ancient Egypt. But now, if we just keep adding emojis, is it innovation? It's maybe an improvement. We have more of what, we provide more of what we have, but it's not innovation. You know, in the summer of 2021, I read an article in the Wall Street Journal, and the article said that the average supermarket in the US offers 306 different varieties of yogurt. So to add another flavor of a yogurt is not an innovation. Makes sense, no? This may be an improvement. Innovation is to provide capabilities. If the new yogurt I'm adding will give us capabilities we didn't have before, I don't know, superior taste but for 0 calories, for example, or something that help make our health better, if it's a new capability, that will be an innovation. That's where the breakthrough lies. It's not about doing something new, it's about removing a limitation in a way we have not done before. There's something else we need to take into account when we develop innovations that has to do with limitations. You see, all of us live with many limitations. We have many limitations in our lives that we don't recognize as a limitation. It's just the way we live. We cannot foresee reality without this limitation, so we don't regard it as a limitation. I'll give you an example. So one of the customers we work with is Omron Healthcare. They developed a breakthrough product that turned them into $800 million company. This was blood pressure monitor device that you can use at home to measure your blood pressure. It was very successful. It was an innovation. It removed a significant limitation. Which limitation it removed? Which limitation this device removed for people? Right? They don't need to go to a doctor to measure their blood pressure. Make sense? But do you think people used to complain about it? Do you think people used to complain that they need to go to a doctor to measure their blood pressure? Nobody complained about it. It's just the way we live. Huge limitation, because if it was not huge, this product would not be successful. Huge limitation, but nobody complains about it. Why is it important to understand? Because if we want to develop breakthrough limitations, and if developing a breakthrough innovation means removing a significant limitation, it means that we need to be experts in our customers' limitations. We need to know about our customers' limitations more than what the customers know. If we will just go and ask the customers what are the problems they have or what would they wish they have, they will not complain about many limitations they have and that we can remove. It's our job to be the experts in our customers' limitations. And there are many tools and methods, this is not the forum to share it, but that can help you know how to discover customers' limitations even if they don't complain about it. The next mindset obstacle I want to share is about the capitalized stage. So far we talked about 3 mindset obstacles: keep adding, starting from a shiny technology, thinking that innovation is all about doing something new. All of them were related to the first phase, which is to build the capabilities to develop an exceptional value. The next obstacle deals with capitalizing. How do we take this great idea that we developed, the technology, the new product that can really give value, and turn a business out of it? What is the mindset block? The mindset block is that many times we think that innovation is mainly about coming up with the next big idea. We think that if we were successful to develop a product that gives a lot of value to customers, the job is done. That's it. Customers will just take it and we will win the market. My friends, how many times you had a great idea, but when you share, that can really give a lot of value, but when you shared it with a person that you need their collaboration, this idiot, obnoxious, narrow-minded person did not understand you. And instead of getting yes, you got a no or a maybe or a shrug of the shoulders. Did it happen? The fact that you were successful to develop an amazing product doesn't mean that customers will embrace it. Now, that's very important. You need to assume they will not embrace it. You need to think, what is the key constraint in converting our idea to business? Why is it so important? Because if you understand what this constraint will be, and you can figure it out before you face reality, if you understand it, you need to take it into account when you develop your product to make sure that you also overcome this constraint. Now, the constraint in converting idea to business could be in different aspects. Let me share with you. It could be a gap in margin or price. Getting the desired margin, considering what the customers are willing to pay. So you may think, oh, that's a great product, but I'm not sure customers will be willing to pay the price that I need them to pay. Let's take an example. Nespresso, coffee capsules, right? How much coffee is in each capsule, do you know? 3 to 4 grams, half a teaspoon. So Nespresso, when they were Nestle, when they were developing Nespresso, they really had to think, how do we make sure that customers will not appreciate the value of this capsule by looking at how much coffee there is? Because half a teaspoon coffee, if that will be our price, less than a nickel, we're not going to make any business. Everybody with me? We need to position our product in a way that the reference for value and price will not be how much coffee there is, but the reference will be a coffee in a coffee shop, right? Put this capsule, you get the best coffee like in a coffee shop, but for half the price. That's what we want the reference to be. The gap could be also in cost, overcoming major costly element in the new offering, right? The first Tesla cars, if you remember, were not that Model 3 and all those. They were highly sophisticated, exciting roadster cars, like a sporty car. Because the cost of the battery at the time, the cost of the battery was so high that in order to make a car that is not a golf cart in golf courses, but a real car that will break the perception of cars, that electric cars cannot be used for real passenger cars. To break this mentality, we need a lot of battery power. But it's very costly. That's why the first cars were actually cars that were looking at the extreme market that will be willing to pay the high price. And then in the meantime, a lot of work was done to reduce the cost of the battery so more and more customers will be able to afford buying this product. Another problem could be a gap in conversion. How do we convert leads to deals, prospects to customers? Even if I come with an amazing product that gives a lot of value, it doesn't mean that immediately customers will buy, especially when I'm asking them to make a major change or when I'm asking them to give up on something that they have. Make sense? Another gap could be a gap in reach. How do we reach enough customers? We have a great product, everybody will get it, would like it, but how do we reach all the masses? What channels we need to have? Another problem could be a gap in the window of opportunity. It's such a good product, everybody will take it, but because we're going to be successful so fast, competition will copy very quickly. Now, these constraints, we can deal with them. And we should deal with them before we face the market. We should deal with them when we develop the product, and then by design, put the right references, the right roadmap of innovation, maybe competition barriers that we will put in the product or in the business models. These are things we need to take into account if we want to be successful. Make sense? Another mindset obstacle that has to do with the first two phases, the build and the capitalize, is the thought that the more we plan, the better we will execute, which is perfectly right when we talk about normal projects, right? In the managerial world, when we think about projects, construction, engineering, we say, let's plan it very carefully. If we plan it very carefully, we will be successful. It can work in projects that are relatively in a field that you know what you're doing. But in innovation, when you're doing something new, when you are going to walk in unwalked territory, when you need to cross a desert to reach this green valley that only you can see, and everybody tells you that the green valley is not there and you don't know how to reach it, and there are a lot of obstacles, if you just stay and plan and not do anything, you will never get there. Because the only way to gain the information you need is to start walking. Make sense? Only when you start working on developing, you will get the information you need. So instead of just having, planning everything perfectly and then seeing that your plan is based on false assumption, it's better that you plan how to reach certain milestones and then walk very quickly to these milestones, because the walk to the milestone will tell you if you're walking into the right direction. You may see that when you walk here, you actually need to walk to a different direction. I'll give you some guidelines how you should design these milestones. 3 guidelines. The first one, focus on the most critical uncertainty. This should be the first milestones. Any innovation, you will, when you look at it, you will say, okay, what is the major question mark we are having? Where is the most critical uncertainty? Critical means that if I don't reveal it, everything can collapse if I don't understand it. Is it in the way the technology works? The uncertainty could be in how you interact with the customers and convince them. The uncertainty could be on the magnitude of the benefits. It could be in different areas. Whatever it is, identify this critical uncertainty and then design the first milestone that you need to reach to uncover this uncertainty as quickly as possible. Makes sense, no? Why do I stress it so much? Because many times we start to work on things that we can, that we know, to make progress. And then we delay what we don't know. But what we don't know, if it's a critical uncertainty, once we work on it, everything can collapse, so don't delay it. Start with it. The second guideline to define the milestones is to decouple problems and opportunities. Every successful entrepreneur, that's like one of the major skills that they have. Not all problems are worth solving. Not all problems are worth solving now. Not any opportunity I see I should pursue. I need to decouple, to decide which problems I want to tackle first, or which opportunities I want to capture first, and then what next and what next. Not try to say everything together, because when you couple everything together, you don't move. You don't do anything. You're in the planning mode. Make sense? The last guideline is try as much as possible to focus your efforts on the core development of whatever is the innovation you're working on, and the rest, see if others already developed and you can just integrate. Don't try to develop everything yourself. If you try to develop everything yourself, again, you're not going to walk. More than that, by the time you will be ready, reality will change, and your innovation may not be relevant anymore. Make sense? I would like to finish my presentation with the last mindset, which is very important, and many times we ignore it. So hopefully you will listen carefully. This is on the sustain stage. Assume you have already built great product. You already capitalize on it. So it means that you're selling it successfully and you are growing. Now, because we are growing, and because we're doing something right, many companies think that, okay, in order to continue and support my growth, I should just simply add more resources as I'm growing in order to be able to serve the growing market, right? In order to be able to continue and develop my product. It seems perfect sense, but there is a big mistake here. That if you ignore, you will fall. What is the mistake? The mistake is that when you reach the sustained stage, it does not mean that you stopped developing and everything is now run by templates. This will take time. You are going to grow, but you still need to develop your innovation and do a lot of what we call non-standard work, new territories that you need to walk in. When companies are dealing with non-standard work, when the work is very diverse and can be done in multiple ways, and it's less repetitive, think about startups, R&D companies, highly engineering companies, service companies. Eventually, to do the job right, you depend on experts. The top IT people, the top engineers, the top consultants. These experts knows how to handle all this diverse work, how to deal with new circumstances that are coming. Now, what happens when the organization is scaling fast and they have these experts? Unavoidably, the experts will become totally overloaded. Now, time is money. Go to market. Work cannot wait for the experts to become available. Because they become overloaded, there is a huge queue of work in front of them. This queue of work cannot wait for them to be available. And then unavoidably, what will happen is that less experienced people will start to do the job because you need to do it. And they will do the job with little guidance because the experts are super busy. I'm sure some of you, the ones already scaling with their innovation, know exactly what I'm talking about. But now, look what happens. When the less experienced people do the job with little guidance, what do you think will happen? Obviously, there will be a lot of mistakes and rework. Guys, who needs to fix this mistake? Huh? Who needs to fix these mistakes? But they're super busy. Now they're even more busy, which puts pressure to do even more work with less experienced people. Do you see the cycle? Now, when we come to organizations that face this constraint, everyone is telling us we need the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. We need the protocols, the manuals. Nobody likes to make mistakes. Tell us what to do. But there is a reason why nobody wrote the SOPs. You don't need to wait for Goldratt to come and tell you. There is a reason. Who needs to write the SOPs? The standard operating procedures. Who? Who are the ones that knows how to write the manuals? The experts. They are super busy. And even if they write the manuals, they cannot cover even half of the cases because work is very diverse. And now again, you have a lot of mistakes and even more load on your people, the experts. Now you can shrug your shoulder and say, what can I do? That's my life. I'll do the best I can. But this vicious cycle, these mistakes and rework can turn so much that it can reverse all your success. So for you to grow in an environment where a lot of the work is non-standard, you need to realize that in this case, the experts are your constraint, are your bottleneck. And then you need to figure out what is this expertise that only the experts should do. What is the work that requires a lot of judgment that only these experts should do, because if it's done by other people, mistakes are happening. Then look at what your experts are doing and compare it to this expertise. And do you think you will see that these experts are doing only this expertise? Most likely not, right? You will find out that a lot of what the experts are doing is not only this expertise, especially if you promoted them to become managers. Then now they need also to manage. A lot of what they're doing is not this expertise. Obviously, what you need to do then is to try and offload as much as possible the non-expertise work from your experts. In our experience, you can expose 20 to 30% capacity from your experts by doing it. But now comes the most difficult part, but also the breakthrough. Listen carefully. you will be under immense pressure to fill up the expert time with more work because there is a big queue, right? You expose 20, 30% capacity, let them do more work. But that's a big mistake because this 20, 30% capacity is not enough for what you need to grow. What you need to do is actually the opposite. You need to prevent the experts from doing the direct work with this 20, 30% capacity. They should not do the direct work. They should supervise and prepare the less experienced people to do the job. This is what they need to do. And believe me, the experts will come to you from good intentions, not because of ego or power. They will come and tell you, Rami, what do you want? Let me just do the work myself. It will happen much faster. Why do I need to train this guy to do it? You need to be very strong and say, no, it's not enough that you do this work. I know it will be much faster, but that's not what I need. I need to grow. I expose this 20, 30% capacity. What you're doing with it is to supervise and monitor this guy to do the job, and this guy, and this guy, and this. That's how you build an organization to scale in an environment with non-standard work. I hope it makes sense for you. So, guys, I would like to conclude my presentation by saying I hope you will take into account the constraints of your business, of your customer's business, when you develop your innovations. Don't ignore the constraints because they will not ignore you. Thank you very much.